If you watched my last video, you already know about NHI, non-human identities, the bots, the API keys, the service accounts, that silent workforce running inside every organization nowadays. And a lot of you came back to me with the same question. Okay, well, we understand the problem, but what do we actually do about it? So this video is the answer to that question. Today, we are not just identifying NHI. Today, we are talking about how you actually govern them in real time. And I'm going to give you the 3-layer model that Gartner published in July this year, which most people in the industry have not caught up with yet. If you have not seen the first video, link is in the description, but you can follow this one completely on its own. When you think of a cyber attack, you still probably picture a hacker in a hoodie stealing an employee's password, right? But it is August 2026 and humans are not the primary target anymore. There is a hidden ghost population running our world. They have credentials, they have permissions. Many of them have more access than your IT admins, and almost nobody is watching them. Welcome back to TechFX. I am Amar. Let's get into it. Okay, before we go deep, let me tell you what has changed just in the last few weeks, because 3 things happened that make this topic far more urgent than when I made the first video. Number 1, on the 3rd of August, IBM released its 2026 cost of a data breach report. The average data breach in India has now hit 25.5 crore rupees. That is an all-time high, up almost 16% in 1 year. And if you are in financial services, 40.9 crore, the highest of any sector. Number 2, on the 6th of July, Gartner published its 2026 hype cycle for digital identity, and it confirmed something important. Identity security is converging into a single life cycle that we all know. See, harden, detect, and stop. I will explain exactly what that means later in this video, because that convergence identity security is the new version. Number 3, and this one is the reason I am making this video now. 12 days ago, the full victim list from the biggest AI supply chain attack of 2026 was finally published. 2,500 companies, 434,000 CI/CD pipelines, and every single one of them was reached without an attacker even stealing a human password. Let me tell you exactly how that happened, because this one story explains everything else in this video. The threat actor is called TeamPCP. Google tracks them as UNC6780. They are financially motivated, and their strategy was brilliant and terrifying. They didn't attack companies. They attacked the security tool that companies trust. Wave 1, late February 2026. There is a tool called Trivi. It is an open source vulnerability scanner made by Aqua Security. Thousands of companies run it inside their built pipelines to check their own code for security problems. TeamPCP found a misconfigured workflow in Trivi's own automation, and through it they stole one credential, a bot token called AquaBot. One machine credential, that is where this entire thing begins. Aqua did rotate their credentials, but the rotation was incomplete. The attackers kept their access, and on the 19th of March, they used it, pushed malicious code into 76 out of 77 version tags of the Trivi GitHub action. And they published a poisoned release, Trivi version 0.6 9.4. Now think about what that means. Every company that ran a build after that moment automatically downloaded a security scanner that was actually harvesting their cloud credentials, SSH keys, and Kubernetes tokens. Their vulnerabilities scanner had become the vulnerable. Wave 2, 23rd of March. Same playbook, a different security tool. Checkmarks kicks. Compromised using credentials harvested in Wave 1. Wave 3 and this is where it explodes. 24th of March, 10:39 in the morning UTC, there is a tool called Light LLM. You must have heard about it. If you build AI products, you probably use it without thinking about it. It is gateway that lets your application talk to an AI model. Your OpenAI, Anthropic, Google through one common interface, isn't it? 95 million downloads a month, 3.4 million downloads every single day. Now, here is the fatal detail. Light LLM's on build pipeline used Trivi to scan its code, and it referenced Trivi without pinning a specific version. So when Light LLM ran its runtime, automated boring security scan, it downloaded the poison Trivi, which stole Light LLM's publishing token for Python PI. With that token, the attackers published two poisoned versions of Light LLM to the public Python package repository. Versions 182.7 and 182.8. Anyone who installed Light LLM during that window got a three-stage payload. A credential harvester targeting over 50 categories of secrets, a Kubernetes lateral movement toolkit, and a persistent backdoor. Wave 4. Makor is a $10 billion AI training company. We all know that. They supply human-generated training data to the biggest AI labs in the world. 4 terabytes of data stolen, personal data of more than 40,000 contractors, proprietary source code, video interviews. Meta indefinitely paused all work with them. 5 contractor lawsuits were filed, and now stop and look at that chain. Not one zero-day exploit, not one phishing email, not one stolen human password. Every single step in that chain was a machine credential doing exactly what it was authorized to do. A bot token, a GitHub action token, a package publishing token, 3 non-human identities, 2,500 companies. That is why we are having this conversation. To understand why we were so unprepared for that, we need to look at how identity security was built. Think of your company like an office building. Every person who walks in needs a badge, a username, a password, an OTP on their phone. That system tracking who is allowed in, which rooms they can enter, what they are allowed to do. That is identity and access management, IAM or IDM. And for decades, it worked beautifully. HR creates your account on day one. IT disables it the day you resign. And every quarter, someone runs an access review campaign to check nobody has more access than they should. Right? Clean, organized, human. But the whole thing rested on one assumption, that an identity is a person, someone with a name, a face, a manager, a joining date, a resignation date, right? That assumption is now completely broken. In my last video, I said that for every human identity in your organization, there were around 50 non-human identities. That number is already outdated. KPMG's 2026 Cybersecurity Considerations report says 80 to 1. Gartner's figure it around 82 to 1. And GitGuardian, presenting at RSA conference this year, said 100 to 1. And in cloud native environments, 144 to 1. Managing found some organizations running at 500 to 1. So let us just say it plainly. In a modern enterprise, humans are a rounding error in your identity population. Now, what actually identity security a normal or non-human identity? Service accounts, machine users that let one system log into another. API keys and tokens, credentials that authenticate software to software, cloud credentials, the key your workloads use in AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, CI/CD pipeline, credentials, exactly what TeamPCP stole. Automation scripts, IoT devices, and now AI agents. And that last one on your screen, workload identity. That is the fastest growing category of 2026. And it is getting its own dedicated video from me very soon. Stay subscribed. It is what makes this different from human identities. They do not have a joining date or a resignation date. They do not have a manager. They do not do MFA. They do not reset passwords. They do not get offboarded when a project ends. They never sleep and they never take leave. And the research on this is genuinely alarming. Intro Security found that 47% of non-human identities had not been changed in over a year. Research published this year found that 8% of enterprise identities have no link to any HR systems at all because the person who created them has left the company already. Nobody owns them, nobody can even say what they are for. And the World Economic Forum found that 51% of organizations have no clear ownership of their AI identities. So you have hundreds, sometimes thousands of credentials with real access to real data that no human being in your company is responsible for. An attacker who finds even one of them does not need to break anything. They just log in. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. For years, enterprise security was designed like a medieval castle. Tall walls, a moat, guards at the gate. The idea was simple: keep the bad people outside and trust everyone inside. IAM was the guard at the gate. It checked badges, it tracked humans, it ran a review every quarter to see who was inside. But NHIs, they don't walk up to the gate, they are already inside. They were born inside. They live in your cloud, your containers, your build pipelines. They are the castle infrastructure. You cannot send them through a metal detector at the gate because there is no gate for them. That is what we mean when we say the perimeter is broken. And remember, the TeamPCP attack, the attackers never approached anybody's gate. They walked in inside a trusted security tool that every organization had invited through the wall themselves. And your quarterly access reviews. But by the time it runs, thousands of new credentials have been created and hundreds of old ones have gone stale. You are auditing a photograph of a river, and let me put real numbers on this because this is not a technical problem. It is a business problem. I mentioned the IBM report earlier, right? Average breach cost in India this year 25.5 crore rupees. And for financial services, 40.9 crore. But here is the part that should worry every leader watching this. India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act, DPDP. The rules were notified in November 2025 and enforcement begins on the 13th of May 2027. We all know that. That is roughly 9 months from today. Once it begins, if you fail to notify the Data Protection Board within 72 hours of a breach, up to 200 crore rupees. And if the breach happened because your security safeguards were inadequate, up to 250 crore rupees. And those penalties can stack. So ask yourself one question: if a regulator asked you today to produce a list of every machine credentials in your organization, who owns it and what it can access, how long would that take you? For most organizations, the honest answer is weeks or never. And that is exactly the problem the next three technologies were built to solve. In July this year, Gartner published its hype cycle for digital identity, and the headline finding was this: identity security is converging into one life cycle. Three layers, three jobs. First, you have to see all of it in one place. That layer is called IVIP. Second, you have to harden. Find what is misconfigured and fix it. That layer is called ISPM. Third, you have to detect and stop in real time what when something goes wrong. That layer is called ITDR. Most organizations have none of these three. Some have one, almost nobody has all three talking to each other. Let us take them one at a time. Let me start with a question that sounds simple. Who has access to our customer data in production right now? Ask that in most enterprises, and what happens? Sometimes someone checks Active Directory, someone else checks the Cloud Console, someone pulls a report from a IGA tool, someone else opens a spreadsheet of service accounts. 3 days later, you get an answer, maybe if nothing changed while they were looking. That is the visibility crisis. You have invested in IGA for lifecycle, PAM for privileged accounts, customer IAM for customers, secrets managers for keys. Every one of them does its job well, and every one of them is a silo. So in July 2025, Gartner named the missing layer IVIP, Identity Visibility and Intelligence Platforms. Gartner defines it as products that provide rapid integration and visibility for identity data paired with advanced analytics, giving you a single view of identity data, activity, relationships, configuration, and posture. Now, let me translate that into plain language. Think of your city. That traffic police have their cameras, the municipal office has road records, the metro authority has its own maps, the toll company has its own data. Every department knows its own piece. Nobody has a map of the whole city. IVIP is the map, and two things about it really matters. First, it is not another directory. It does not replace your IAM tools. It sits above them and connects them. Second, and this is the clever part, it understands relationship. A service account in Active Directory, a role in AWS, an API key sitting in GitHub repository, your existing tools. See three unrelated things. IVIP recognizes that all three might be the same workload. Same thing, three faces, finally connected. And that is exactly the visibility that would have exposed the TeamPCP chain long before it reached Mercor. Now, I have to be honest with you about where this technology actually is. Gartner places IVIP at the innovation trigger stage. Market penetration is currently below 5%. They estimate 5 to 10 years to mainstream adoption. So this is early, genuinely early, which means if you start building this capability now, you are years ahead of your peers. Okay, so IVRP lets you see everything, but seeing a problem and fixing it are the two different things, right? That is the second layer, ISPM, called Identity Security Posture Management. Let me go back to the maps. Imagine you are driving from Mumbai to Pune 20 years ago. You would use a printed road maps, right? We used to do that. It was perfectly accurate on the day it was printed. But if there is a landslide on the expressway today, that map has no idea. You find out when you are stuck for 3 hours. Quarterly access review is that printed map. It tells you what your access looked like 3 months ago. ISPM is the live traffic layer. It continuously examines your identity configuration and asks which accounts have far more privilege than they actually use, which service account has not been touched in 90 days but still holds admin rights, which credentials have never been rotated, where is MFA configured incorrectly, which identities have no honor at all, and crucially, it does this all the time, not once a quarter. Here is the part that connects to our attack. Echo security rotation their credentials after the first intrusion, but the rotation was incomplete. The attackers kept their access and used it weeks later. An incomplete credential rotation is exactly the kind of misconfiguration that ISPM exists to catch. Think of it as a continuous health check on your identity hygiene. Always on, always honest, nowhere to hide. But posture tells you what is weak, it does not tell you what is happening right now. For that, you need the third layer. And the third layer is ITDR, which is identity threat detection and response. If IVIP is the map, the ISPM is the live traffic warning, ITDR is the system that slams on the brakes. Let me give you a scenario. Imagine a service account, let us call it report gen bot. Its job is simple, generate the monthly financial report. It accesses one database between 10 p.m. and midnight. On the last Friday of every month, that is its entire life. Every month for 3 years, one Tuesday at 3 in the morning, it starts reading HR payroll records. And then the customer data lake, that is not its job, that is not its pattern. Something is very wrong. A quarterly review would find this in 12 weeks if you are lucky. And remember the IBM number. Organizations without automation take 236 days just to identify a breach. ITDR compares that behavior against the known baseline, scores the anomaly, and executes a predefined response. Isolate the accounts, revoke the session, alert the team, and open the investigating with the context already attached. 2 seconds. versus 236 days. And this is what zero trust actually means in practice. You have all heard the phrase, never trust, always verify. For 20 years, that meant check the human at the door once. Now it means verify every identity, human or machine, every time it does anything. Continuously, automatically, forever. Now let me bring the three layers together because individually each one is useful. Together they are something genuinely new. IVIP discovers a service account nobody knew existed. ISPM notices it has admin rights, it has never used and no honor. ITDR watches it in real time and stops it in the moment it behaves abnormally. So see, harden, detect and stop. One continuous loop running all the time across every identity you have, human and non-human. That is the convergence Gartner identified this July, and the industry has a name for the result, the identity fabric. One connected layer that governs every identity in your organization as a single ecosystem. Humans, machines, AI agents, everything. And I want you to notice what has actually changed here. The old model was periodic, the new model is continuous. The old model was reactive, the new model is preventive. The old model governed humans, the new model governs everything that holds a credential. That's not an upgrade, that is the different category of security. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, this is all sounds expensive. So let me give you 3 things you can start this week without buying a single product. Step 1, count them. Ask your cloud and infrastructure team for a list of every service account, API keys and token in your environment. Most organizations cannot produce that list. If yours cannot, that is not a failure, that is your finding. That is the whole business case in one email. Step 2, find the offense. For every credential on that list, ask one question: who owns this? Not which team, which named human being. Remember, 8% of enterprise identities have no honor at all. Those are your highest risk items. Start there. Step 3, check the age and the blast radius. Anything not rotated in over a year, flag it. Anything unused for 90 days but is still active, flag it. And for the top 10, ask if this leaked today, what could an attacker reach? And one free resource. Look up the OWASP Non-Human Identity Top 10. It is a published community build checklist. It costs nothing. If you do nothing else after this video, run your environment against that list. Do these 3 steps and you will have done more real identity governance than most organizations manage in an entire year. Let me bring this home. 3 things to remember. 1, the biggest attack on AI infrastructure this year didn't steal a single human password. It moved entirely through machine credentials. 2, your perimeter cannot hold because non-human identities are already inside it. Quarterly reviews cannot govern something that changes every few minutes. And 3, the answer is 3-layer working as one: IVIP to see, ISPM to harden, ITDR to detect and stop. That is the identity fabric. That is where this is all going. If you lead a security team, ask one question tomorrow morning: how many non-human identities do we have and who owns them? If nobody can answer in under an hour, you have found your project for this quarter. And if you are new to cybersecurity, you now understand a shift that experienced professionals are still catching up on. You are genuinely ahead. Next up, workload identity, the fastest growing category of non human identity, and the one almost nobody has governed properly yet. And after that, agentic AI, because OWASP has already published a top 10 for agentic applications, and number 3 on that list is agent identity and privilege abuse. AI agents that mint their own credentials, borrow human sessions, and act with authority nobody explicitly granted. That is the next frontier, and it is arriving fast. I'm Amar, this is TechFX. If this made you think, like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments how many non-human identities do you think your organization has. I read every single one. Stay curious, stay secure. Thank you so much.